and we're going to get her video going here in a bit. I know, Michelle, you're going to be excited to hear this. This was one of the big requested topics. So there are people out here that need the information that you have to share. So thank you so much for being willing to take time out of your busy Saturday to be here with us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Coach Tam. I'm glad to be here. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you okay. So we are ready. We are ready to rock. Now, I had the pleasure, as we were getting ready for our time today, to learn more about you and your story. And it's so powerful. I believe that there is so much power, as Scripture even reminds us, in sharing our testimonies. And I think your testimony is so powerful because it wasn't like you decided, I'm going to grow up and become a credit coach. Life happened. And as a result of that, you ended up doing what you are currently doing. So share with the audience a little bit about your journey and kind of what brought you to the point that you're doing now what you do.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, so, there was this was just a long time coming. I got started because my credit score was in poor shape. It was a 515, as a matter of fact. And I was embarrassed, and I didn't want to tell anyone about it. Some people want to look good on the outside when they're hurting on the inside. And that was me. And my husband was in between jobs at the time. And so I had to do what I had to do, and we had to do what we had to do. We had to pay the bills that we could. The others that we couldn't, they fell behind. And as a result of that, our credit score suffered tremendously. My score dipped down, like I said, to 515. My husband's was even lower. It was in the 400s. And that really did put us in a dark place. We tried to, keep our heads up high, out in public, but we couldn't or be approved for anything. And that's frustrating, as an adult, when you have children that you have to say no to because things happen with your credit score. And, I got to a point where I just was tired of being sick and tired, having to put down huge deposits all the time because, I couldn't apply or couldn't be approved for a credit card. So it was costing money too. So bad credit costs you money. And, and it was adding up, and you just get to a point where you're fed up and you're ready for change. And you definitely have to get to that point where you say, I'm going to have to take action. So applied knowledge is power. I started looking up information and definitely found what worked for me and got started in the program. And, even within 45 days, my score had increased 90 points. And after that, it was just like a feeling of relief. It was a feeling of freedom. It was a feeling of success. And, it was something that I knew that so many people needed and didn't know that was out there for them. And I knew it was my purpose to be able to give back by teaching others through my story that you don't have to be stuck. Your past does not determine your future, that there's things out there to help you take advantage of that so that you can, live the life that God has purpose for you.
I love that. I love that. So family, no matter where you are credit-wise right now, whether it's 400 or 500, Michelle has just given you hope that your situation has changed. And she's not just telling you something she read. She's sharing with you that something that she has personally experienced. And you talked about how bad credit costs you money. I think that's a really important point, right? Because what Jeremy just talked to us about spending less and saving more. So bad credit could actually cause us to have to spend more. We have to make all these deposits and do all of these things, right? So improving our credit situation really can have a drastic impact on our life overall. Now, Michelle, there's a lot going on in the world right now. There's tons of things that people could be doing. In your opinion, why is it important to focus on credit right now? Why is that a big priority for us?
Yeah, so it's it's like a vital sign. Your credit score is really, it's like those three numbers are really written across your face. And it's going to be very crucial for, you to be approved for anything. Your credit score has to be in the right place. There's even new limits as far as FHA loans and conventional loans is being approved. Your credit score has to be in a higher space than what it was before. I know before it was like a 580 would get you approved for an FHA loan, and now it's almost upwards for 680. And so, that could, really, really hurt some people who are looking to become homeowners. And, if you're looking for a new car, same thing goes. If your credit score is not in a good place, then you're going to have huge, down payments. Your interest rate is going to be sky high, and then you can't go in and call the shots for yourself. This is what I want for myself. They're going to tell you, this is what you can get with this credit score.
Oh.
And I feel like we definitely have to be in a position in our lives where we can educate it, and then we can be empowered to make informed decisions that's going to be the best for ourselves and our families.
I love that. That's so important. Yeah, and you're absolutely right. I was actually talking to, and Michelle Raw will join us soon, talking about the home buying industry, and we were talking about how some of the credit requirements have changed as a result of everything that's going on. So you're right. Some people that maybe would have met the requirements before all of this happened may find themselves in a situation where they no longer qualify or don't qualify for as much house as they would have initially. And nothing has changed with their personal situation, but the environment has changed. So you make a convincing argument. Now is the time to get started. Now, I'd love to paint a little bit more of a picture of how life is different for you now. You talked about where you came from and how all the challenges that you face. What is life like now on the other side? And tell us a little bit about what you do, how you work with your clients.
Yeah, so, now I don't have that fear anymore. So that fear is removed. I know that if I'm looking to be approved for anything that I want, that is going to be done. So, for example, when it was time for me to get a new car, now I definitely believe in holding on. My car was paid off for a while, and so I was loving not having a car payment. I was going to ride it out, which I did. But when it was time for me to get a new car, I, definitely researched what I wanted. I knew what my credit score was. And then when I went into the car dealership, I didn't have any down payment, super low interest rate. I chose the car that I wanted. It was a quick, smooth process, and the guy said, "Man, you were right on with your credit score." I said, "Yes, I have a monitoring system that tells me what it is." So, I knew exactly going in the door, and I came out with what I wanted. And, that definitely, gives you that confidence that you need. And just knowing that if anything were to come up that I need to be approved for as far as my credit score, then that would be done for me. And, even credit cards and getting the limits on credit cards to be able to leverage for buying power. When you have a good credit score, then you can apply for those cards. You can, leverage the points that they have on those cards. And, if you have a poor credit score, you can't do it. You can't do that. And so it has been a game changer for myself and my husband. He was able to, purchase a new car for himself as well. And, we just know that we're just in a better place overall. And so now that we know that for ourselves, we've lived it, and we know that what our company can make changes and help others. That's what our company is committed to doing. And so we have numerous clients that even say, "Hey, I can't even get approved, for an apartment to lease an apartment because my credit score is so low." And so, our company has been able to get those people on the road to better credit scores so that they can be approved for the things that they need to do. And so it's been a true blessing, really from beginning to where we are right now.
Wow, I love it. So many nuggets that you shared, but just options. And Jeremy and I talked about that earlier, is that when you are in a good financial position, you have so many more options. And that was the word that kept coming up as I was listening to you talk. Like, when you have that credit, they get to say, "These are the choices you have."
Yes.
When you have good credit, you're able to say, "No, that's the one that I want," right?
Exactly. Exactly.
So there's a totally different conversation. Like, this is all you can do over here, right? And
yes.
and even though, and we're going to talk about this later, that using credit responsibly is important, and we're going to talk about that, family. So even though you heard Michelle talk about the limits and all that stuff, we're not just using them willy-nilly. So we're going to talk about that.
Right.
But it does create options for, you know, cards with perks and stuff. When you don't have the credit score, you can't. So the bottom line is life looks a lot different, and there's a lot less options when your credit is restricted, your lifestyle and what you could do for yourself. And as we've been talking about legacy all day, not just for yourself, but what you can do for others is restricted because of credit. So this is important for us to talk about today. So Michelle, you talked about how you and your husband were at this place. You've got, you know, the 400, the 500 credit scores. Praise God, you were able to make it out. For the person that's there right now, what's the first step? Because there's so many things that I know we're going to talk about today, and there's so many things that they need to do, but what's the first thing that they need to do to kind of get themselves back on track?
So the first thing you need to do is be educated. So you need to know what's on your credit report. 4 out of 5 credit reports have errors on them. And a lot of people don't even know what's on there, what's reporting on there, and what is causing their score to plummet. So you can get a free credit report at annualcreditreport.com and look it over to see what items are on there that's hurting your score. Now there's 3 top items that usually affect the scores in a pretty major way. And, you know, first one are public records. And, you know, so those would include like bankruptcies and tax liens. You know, those are going to be some of the really heavy hitters. And then you have your derogatory items, you know, your collection accounts and things like that. And then you have your unsatisfactory accounts, things that have been paid 30 to 180 days late. And so those are the top 3 negative items that are impacting scores that you would need to look at to see if, you know, that is your case. So you definitely need to be informed. You need to know what's on your credit report, and then you need to leverage the Fair Credit Reporting Act, which simply says you have a legal right to dispute those items that are on your credit report. And if they're not verified within 30 days, legally, they have to be removed. So many times within those things that are on your credit report, there's different reporting that's not accurate. So for example, the date that an account maybe went into collection maybe is not reported correctly, even down to your personal information. You know, maybe your social security number is written the wrong way, or you are, you know, a junior or a senior and they have it mixed up. So all of those things can definitely help you to, when you're disputing, to leverage that right to get those things disputed to be deleted off of your credit report, and that is going to increase your score. So that is a right that we have, the Fair Credit Reporting Act of 1971. So a lot of people aren't aware of that, and you have a legal right to dispute. So definitely know your rights and definitely take advantage of that.
I love it. I love it. So family, we've got to get educated. So Michelle gave us that website, annualcreditreport.com. You can get a free credit report, so it's not going to cost you anything. Get that, look it over, start identifying things that may be inaccurate. She walked us through the 3 categories, and then if there's anything that is not accurate on that report, you have a legal right to dispute it, right? So we talk about, especially these days with everything going on in the world, how sometimes things just don't seem to be right. They're just not just. This is something that you can take within your control, that is within your power to exercise your legal right. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that, and we'll talk about how you can partner with Michelle if you need help with that. So don't feel like you have to do this alone. But you know, when we were talking, when we were getting ready for this, you said something, and I was like, wow, that's powerful. We need to talk about this in front of the audience. You said, hey, if I'm struggling with my credit, you know, the number one thing that people think that they need to do is to start paying their bills on time. And you agreed 100%. Yes. You need to start paying your bills on time. But you said that that is not enough. And when you said that, the light bulb went off for me, because I think most people think I just keep paying on time and then one day it's going to get better. Yeah. What's off with that mindset? Where do we need to shift? Why is that important that we do more than just pay on time?
Yes, yes. And, and a lot of us, we weren't educated about credit. And, even in schools, we weren't taught about it. So some of us were fortunate to have people that, did pour into us so that we were educated, but a lot of us had to just live it ourselves and learn on our own. And so most times that's the one thing that people taught us, well, pay your bills on time. And so we went with that. And, the thing to know is that there are 5 components of a credit score. Now, paying your bills on time is the largest component. It's 35% of your score. So yes, please pay your bills on time, but you're leaving those 4 other components untouched. And that's where some of the problem lies. So 30% of your credit score is your utilization. So how much of that credit you are using. And it's super important, let's say if you have a credit card, for example, and you have, an $1,000 limit on that credit card, the goal is to pay only or to use only 30% of that limit on that credit card. So some people will say, oh, well, I have a credit card and it's $1,000. Well, that means I have $1,000 to spend. And, so that's not the case. And so some people say, well, why is my credit score suffering? Well, because you've used over that 30% utilization. So if you have a credit card of $1,000, you don't want to use any more than 300 of that limit on that credit card. Do not go over that amount. If you do that, you're hurting your score. Now, if we will put it in terms of a grade, let's give yourself a grade, like a report card, that 30% utilization would be a C. So that's average, but we always want to shoot for above average. And so I always coach my clients to even, in fact, use 9% utilization. And when you do that, then you're going to be in a space where you're getting that A on your report card. So only about $90 of that card should you use, and that's going to give you your biggest bang for your buck in that utilization component of the credit score. So definitely make sure you're paying those down. So if you have high limits, you're hurting your score. That's the second biggest impact to that credit score. And then the next one then would be the age of your credit. So you want to make sure that you have been able to manage and maintain debt for a good amount of time. Now, if you have a credit card for, let's say you've had a credit card for years and you say, hey, I don't even use this card. I'm just going to close it. Well, when you do that, you're hurting that 15% of the score there of your credit age. So you want to have good long credit history. That's good history. So be careful about that, with closing accounts. Even consolidating student loans sometimes may hurt your score because you have all of these accounts and then you're closing them and opening up a new one. That could hurt your score 15%. So all those scenarios with the student loans are different, but that can impact your score. And then 10% is your inquiries. So many times you go and you are trying to get approved for some things, and when they're asking for your full social, that is a hard inquiry. If some places only ask for the last 4, that's a soft inquiry, and that doesn't hurt your score. But the hard inquiries do. Now, 1 to 2 is great. 3 to 4 is okay, but when you have more than 4 inquiries, it's really impacting 10% of your score. And, that is something that you want to just be very cautious of, because a lot of times we get sucked into apply for this and you can get 25% off. And, it sounds great at the time, but we just have to just say, no, we definitely have to have that self-control there. And that's tough, but we have to do it. And then the last 10% is just a credit mix. And so, you want to make sure that you have a mix of credit, especially when you're looking to be approved. Lenders like to see that you can handle a variety of debt responsibly. And so, be a balance of installment loans, balance of revolving accounts, which are those credit cards. And, if you don't have a car payment, which should show as an installment loan, there are some self-builder loans that you could get that would report on your credit report as an installment loan. So that would be something that you could look into. And then, if you don't, or if your credit score is hurting to where you can't have any credit cards, For those revolving accounts, you could look into a secured card that could help with that. And my company does have one that's 100% approved. Some credit scores are so low you can't be approved for a secured card. But you definitely want to make sure all those components are intact to help you on your way to an excellent credit score.
Yeah, I love that. So there's so many different components, family. So not just paying on time, but making sure, and I love the one that really stood out for me was the credit utilization, right? Because you got $1,000 car, oh my God, I only got 500 on there. It's like, oh no, 9%. So that is very, very small. But it kind of, I love it though, of how it connects even to what we were talking about with Jeremy is the purpose of credit is not to live off of credit.
Yes.
The purpose of credit is to use it as a tool, to use it as a resource, to use it as leverage. But we don't want to be in a position where we're having to put a lot of things on the credit. And so if we can shift our mindset to, hey, this is just a tool that I use, to versus I'm actually carrying balances on it, it's going to transform our lives. Now, Michelle, we got a question from the audience, and it kind of ties into that point that you made about mix. Patience is asking, are we hurting ourselves if we don't have a credit card? Talk to us about, because we could be thinking, well, I don't want to tempt myself with the chance of putting money on credit cards, so maybe I just don't have one. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so if you don't have a credit card, yes, you are leaving 30% off the table as far as your credit score is concerned. So yeah, a lot of people are just fearful of credit cards because they've heard so many bad things about them and they're just not educated on how to use them properly. But if you don't have one, yes, you are leaving that off the table. You want to apply for a credit card. If your score is about, I would say, between a 580, 620-ish, you may be able to apply for some credit cards. I would check if you have a credit union, I would start there first. They usually have some really good rates on the credit cards. And then I would look to some of the others if you're not, if you don't have one, such as Capital One, but be careful. They have a variety of cards. So you definitely want to check the interest rates on those. You want to check if there's annual fees on those cards. So just, definitely do your research on which card's going to work best for you. But once you receive that card, then you want to just, I will always just say, just put a subscription on there if you have one, maybe like Netflix, something like that, or just use your card for just gas and that's it. So maybe, this is kind of like my gas card. That's all I'm using it for. That's all. That way, that's what that card's used for. You're going to put it on, to make sure that it's paid. And speaking of paying those credit cards, you want to make sure that you check with the company what that statement date or report date is. And you want to make sure you make a payment by that date. And if you can, make a payment by the due date. So you want to make that payment there because that's the date they report your balance to the credit bureaus. So you want to make sure you call them to see what that date is. That's important. And then make sure you pay it down, not down to zero, pay it down to $1 because you are getting points for that utilization. And if you pay it down to zero, it's zero utilization. So that's just a quick tip about those credit cards. But if your score is 620 or higher, definitely look into getting, an unsecured card so that you can use that to help boost your score.
Yeah, I love that. Great, great, great tips. Now, I know that a large portion of the audience this year was very, very interested in this particular topic. And I suspect that many people were attracted to your story and just knowing where they are credit-wise, and they want to make some bold moves to transform their credit situation. Share with us kind of your thoughts on what are some things that the audience can do right now to help boost their credit score quickly? What would be some things that you would prioritize?
Yeah, so one thing that you can do on your own that's free is you can look up Experian Boost. And so if you Google that, it's a free service through Experian, and it takes certain things such as your gas and electric payment or your cell phone bill, and it adds those payments that you make on time, and it uses those payments to help boost your score for Experian. So I would definitely look into that to help boost your score, and that would be on Experian. And then, like I said, definitely look into some lender loans. And, I say that to say, because they have a way where you can pay as little as almost $15 a month. And what they do is you take out a loan, and it doesn't report on your credit. So it's not an inquiry. That's good to know. But you do that, and then you're paying yourself back though. So it goes into a CD, but you're actually paying yourself back. So that feels good, because you are making those payments to use to boost your score, and it will report on all 3 of your credit reports. And then you make that payment, that monthly payment. And then when you're done with the terms of the loan, then that is your money. So that you've saved up over time. So it's nice to see that you're paying yourself back into a savings and using that to boost your score. And so that service is selflender.com. And that is one that a lot of my clients use to help boost their score, just because, like I said, it's a low monthly payment. It's something that's manageable for them, and it's helping to boost their score on all 3 from all 3 credit bureaus.
I love that. I love that. So family, you've got some resources they can use: Experian Boost, selflender.com, things that you can take action on right now today to move things forward. Now, we are people that want things done like yesterday. So you talked about how in your own experience that you were actually able to see some significant progress. I think 90 points in 45 days, which is amazing. I talked with them a little bit earlier about, all what I had heard was, well, it takes 7 years for stuff to, improve, like 7 to 10 years for things to improve your credit. Help us get grounded in proper expectations. Like, let's say someone has all the tools, they have the support, maybe they partner with you and get everything they need. What's realistic in terms of being able to turn their credit situation around? How quickly could that happen?
Yeah, so what's great about my company is that we actually have credit attorneys that are doing the disputing on our behalf. And I always say it's important to let the professionals handle those areas, because there's a lot of things that we can do on our own, right? Years ago, I tried, repairing my own credit, and boy, oh boy, I didn't know what to write in the dispute letters. And I got a little bit of an increase. It took a long amount of time, but I'm not a professional. I don't really know, all of the credit laws and as it pertains to what a credit attorney would know. And so we have credit attorneys that are actually doing the disputing process. They definitely know the laws. They definitely know if any creditors are in violation of any of those laws. And so they are writing the dispute letters for our clients. And because they are doing that, our clients are seeing results in as little as 45 days. So what happens in that process is that they write those dispute letters, they will send them to you, so you'll get them in the mail, and you simply look them over, you sign those letters, and you send them back to the 3 credit bureaus. Then you have the 30-day waiting period, and that is due to the Fair Credit Reporting Act that I had spoke about earlier. And so typically about day 40, you'll get those updates in the mail, and then from the credit bureaus, and it'll show things that have been deleted and even things that have been updated. And those things will result in your credit score being increased. Now, if any reason there are things that still show verified, that will go back into your dispute file, because every 62 days, you'll get a new set of dispute letters. And so the attorneys will see what is still showing verified. And then again, they will go ahead and target those creditors. You'll notice on on the letters, the language will get a little more aggressive. And, they are going to be, it's like, okay, because they're like your legal defense team. So they're working on your behalf. And I've also had clients too in the process where the credit attorneys have found, that there were creditors that were in violation of laws. And so a lot of my clients then did receive that, them working on their behalf, and they did receive a check of $1,000. So we've had instances for that. We've had instances where people have paid. There was a judgment for some reason and they had to pay it, and they found fault with that, and that creditor had to give the money back to the client. So, it is nice having that legal defense team working on your behalf as far as that disputing process goes. But on average, clients only need services 4 to 6 months. and that's it. And so you
Wow.
can think about repairing it or waiting 7 to 10 years. I would say
That's a
repair.
no-brainer. That's a no-brainer, because what you've helped us to see, Michelle, is it's not just the time, it's what am I dealing with during that time frame, right? My
Yes.
options are less. There are things that I'm not even able to do at all. I'm paying more for things than I should be paying. Like, all of those things add up. So there's mental, there's emotional, there's financial costs all the way around. So we want to get out of that situation as quickly as possible. So thank you for that. We've got a question from Angela. She says, do lenders pay more attention to one credit bureau over the other? Is there any difference to the different credit bureaus?
So the thing is with creditors, they can choose who they are going to report your information to. So it costs them to do that. And so that's why you'll notice that there's a difference in your credit scores according to each credit bureau. So some things may be reported to all three, some two, some one, some won't report to any. And so, it just kind of depends on the creditor and, if they're reporting that your information to all of those scores, to all those bureaus, some or none at all. So if you go, and sometimes if you just ask them, which, if you're looking to be approved, sometimes you may want to ask them, because sometimes they'll take a average of all three of the credit scores to see if you are approved. And then some will just tell you, hey, we pull from here. This is what bureau we typically pull from. So it's important to have a monitoring system so that you can see your credit score, so you know where you are. And then when you're looking to be approved, definitely research a variety of lenders. So, don't just go with one. Look, always keep your options open, when you're looking to be approved for anything, what that would be, a house or car or what have you.
Yeah, that's powerful. So the scores can be different on all of the different credit bureaus because the companies are reporting differently. They report to some, they don't report to others. So you want to know what's going on with all three. That's a great takeaway. So Angela, I hope that helped. We also have a question for Charlene. She says, what's the difference between bank FICO score and the three credit bureau scores? So she's bringing to light the fact that sometimes the bank has their own internal score. How does that fit into all of this?
Yeah, so the FICO scores is what's going to be used most often to be approved. So that's what they're going to be looking for. So you want to definitely make sure you're being careful, because some monitoring systems such as Credit Karma, which a lot of people use, that is a Vantage model scoring system. And the different scores just depends upon how much weight they put on each component of the credit score. So you definitely want to make sure when you are looking for those scores that you are looking at that FICO score, because that's going to give you the true accurate picture that lenders are looking at when you're looking to be approved. Now, as far as getting your credit scores, we have a credit monitoring system that you can have access to those scores. And they're not exactly the FICO scores, they're a little different. So there would be a little range there in those scores. But if you go on, for example, Experian 3 Bureau, it's actually Experian, the number 3, and then Bureau, you can get all three of your scores. It does cost to get your score. So your report, you can get free, an annual credit report, but to actually get your scores, it costs. One way that our clients do have access to their FICO score is when they do apply for some credit cards. So there are some credit cards that will come with that FICO scoring system tapped into that. And so when you apply for that, you can see what your FICO is through those credit cards. So again, when you're shopping around for credit cards, that may be another advantage to a card that you choose that can show you what that FICO score is.
Yeah, so powerful. Thank you for that. Wow, so much information. And you mentioned Credit Karma. I want to talk about that a little bit, because we're now in a day and age where tons of information is at our fingertips. People have probably heard about Credit Karma, and they may think that would be the best way for them to tackle this, is to use an online service like Credit Karma or something similar. Help us understand the pros and cons to that, so that our audience can make an informed decision.
Yeah, so again, with Credit Karma, it's going to give you a gauge of where your credit score is. I've had a lot of clients who have checked in with Credit Karma, and, you know, we look at their scores and there's a difference in between, you know, 10 to 15 points. On the other hand, I had a client who almost had a 100-point difference between what Credit Karma was showing and what her FICO was. And so here she was thinking she was in a great spot, almost ready to be approved for a new home, where in fact, you know, her score, you know, was suffering. Credit Karma, you know, they are in the business too of making money. And so they give you different credit card suggestions, because they want you to apply for them and they want you to apply through their website. And so you got to just be careful, just because, you know, they are looking to sell some things and looking to make money on your behalf. But it is a good starting point to kind of see or to kind of gauge where you are, where your score is. You can look and see what items are on your credit report, but you also need to be aware that it only reports 2 of the 3 credit bureaus. So again, when we were talking about some of those creditors and what they report and how they report, you know, you're leaving one of those bureaus off the table. So just kind of be mindful of that as well. So you're only seeing a snapshot, you're not getting the full picture.
Got it. Well, man, there's been so much information that we've covered, and we're about out of time. So, but before we go, when we talked about this, I was like, we've got to share this with the audience, because I know that some of my clients have children. Some are younger, some are older. But I think everyone wants, you talked about how we don't learn this stuff in school. Mm-hmm. So I feel confident that the majority of our audience wants to share some of the nuggets that they have gained today. And they want to make sure that whether it's their children or their grandchildren, that they don't have the same types of hurdles that they've had. And you shared with me how you are able to get your kids to a point where they're going off to college and they got excellent credit. And I was thinking, man, I didn't even have credit when I went off to college. Yeah. And then there were the people that were giving me T-shirts for filling out credit card applications.
Yes.
Which didn't help, right? So talk to us a little bit about how you've been able to take what you've learned and help educate your children so that our audience can learn from that.
Yes. It's so important that, you know, we definitely are educating our children so that they don't fall into the same, you know, financial habits that hurt our credit score. We want to set them up for success because we, again, know that, you know, credit is not taught in schools, and, you know, it's important to know. And so starting them out early, even making them authorized users on your credit card. So when you start and get a credit card yourself, you establish good payment history on that credit card, remembering that utilization, keeping that low, you know, and then when you add your child as an authorized user on that card, that is helping them build credit. Now, you don't have to get a card for them to use. You can just make them an authorized user so that your payment history and the benefits of what you're doing in that card is passing down to your child. Now, there's some credit card companies that will allow authorized users as early as the age of 13. And so think about that. You can start building that credit and that credit, the credit age, so the amount of time that they've had credit. You know, we talked about the age affecting 15% of your score. And so starting out at that young age and building that good credit history, building that good credit age is going to be a huge benefit for them. You know, so when they get to the point of being able to establish and hold their credit on their own and to be approved for things on their own, they're able to do that. So you want to make sure you do that. Check with the credit card. Some credit card companies do not have an age requirement. Some do. So it depends on the card, but you want to make sure you do that. Another thing is, you know, even when your children are at, let's say, 18 years old, and, you know, they're looking to be kind of on their own and self-sufficient, and maybe they have an apartment or looking to, you know, have an apartment by themselves or anything like that. Sometimes even when they're in college, after that first year, then they move into an apartment. I know that's what my daughter did. We have a program that is called Credit My Rent, and it will use their rent payments up, and it'll go back to 2 years, and it will use that as a positive trade line on their credit report. So again, it will establish that history on their credit report. and it reports to TransUnion and Equifax. And so as long as they make their payment within 30 days, and this doesn't even go for children, this is for anyone. If you're renting, you can add that rental history on your credit report. It's going to be used to boost your score in a major way. So just think about that, putting 2 full years of rental history on your credit report is going to boost your score tremendously. So for many people, you know, their rent payments, their largest expense. So why not get credit on that, just like your mortgage would apply on your credit report. So with our children, we want to make sure that we are building those healthy habits, you know, at a young age. And my company also has a youth and financial literacy program. And so when you do enroll for credit repair, it's not just for yourself, it's for your family. And so even starting from the age of 2, they give families tips on what you could teach a 2-year-old about finances and about credit. There's different games that families can play together, and it's just really changing that trajectory and, you know, that mindset, so that we again are not continuing the cycle, you know, of people that we don't know or we're not educated. So we're providing that education for families to build that healthy credit score, so that we can start accumulating, you know, generational wealth for ourselves and our family and our future.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So many valuable tips. Family, let's give it up for Michelle. Talk to us in the comments. Has this been a blessing to you? Has she shared some nuggets that are not only going to help you, but are going to help you help other people? And before she goes, I'm going to get her to wrap this up, but I'd love for you to share your thoughts, share your love with Michelle, because I tell you, so many valuable nuggets that we all need to know. So, wow, if someone does want to take that next step with you, Michelle, they realize after listening to you, I need some help, I don't want to tackle this on their own. Talk to us about what that process looks like. What would they need to do?
Yeah, so I offer my clients a free consultation. And so you would just give me a call, 888-399-4441. And, you know, it's a no hassle complimentary consultation, just takes 15 minutes where we discuss your goals and what you're looking to do as far as being approved, or if you're just looking to just get your credit score in a better place overall. And so we would talk about that, how the program works for you, because what I love about this, Coach Tam, is that it's not just credit repair. So you're going to be receiving credit repair and 11 other services in addition to that. So I was listening to your speaker beforehand, and he was talking about how much budgeting is important. You actually get a budgeting tool in this program to help you budget, and a savings goals to help you save. And so you get all those things, even a debt payoff program to help you pay off debt. So you get all these things together to help you to be your best self with your credit score and finances. And then from there, I can see if you are, you know, a candidate for credit repair, because not everyone is. There are some things that you can do on your own. But if you are a candidate, then I can definitely get you enrolled in the program. And, you know, also we talked about, and I heard you talk about earlier, Coach Tam, giving back. And that's what I'm about as well. And so, you know, there is a fee for credit repair to get started. But whenever potential clients just say, you know, I need help or I don't have it, I do have a way of offering and extending help for people to get started. And so, you know, just, you know, definitely let me know that. And I do have some ways to help you get started with the program.
Wow, I love that. I love the heart, right? So you want to make sure that people are able to get what they need, and you're willing to partner with them so that they can get there. So some amazing comments here, Michelle, very informative and needed, great information for me and to share with my kids. Thank you for all the rich nuggets, especially regarding credit reporting breakdown and credit card tips. This has been so good. Thank you. So the audience has definitely benefited. So family, in the comments, you have the links to Michelle's website where you can grab that phone number if you would like. You also get her information on how to follow her on Instagram. She's sharing lots of tips there. Let's wrap this up, Michelle. If we were to kind of sum up everything that you've talked about today, it's been a lot. And we're going to get you guys, we're going to get you the tip sheet. But just to help us kind of put a bow on this, walk us through, what are the main things that we need to walk away with from today's time?
So yeah, I would say some major takeaways would be first to educate yourself, know what's on your credit report. Just because sometimes we're just living from year to year to year, and there's things that are on there that are hurting us and we don't know that they're there. So definitely get a copy of your credit report, look that over. If you need help looking through that, I have a consultation, free consultation. I can look that over for you and help you see what's on there. And then you want to just break down those components of the credit score. You definitely want to make sure to continue to make your payments on time, whether you automate your payments to help you with that. Definitely do that. Do not pay late, because that can hurt your score 50 to 100 points. It could bring it down. One late payment can hurt your score that much. Again, you want to definitely think about those credit cards, whether you have one, using it responsibly. Paying it down. Do not get into those high limits, because that's going to hurt your score. And if your score is already low and you're looking to be approved for a secure card, look into getting that a secure card, because it's going to help you to build that credit. So you don't want to leave that 30% off the table. That's a huge chunk that will impact your score. Remember those inquiries, so don't apply for any and every card under the sun. We want to definitely, make sure that we are just kind of pacing ourselves. 1 to 2 inquiries is okay. 3 to 4 is not too bad, but more than that is really hurting your score. So some self-control is needed there. That we're not applying for too much credit. And then, making sure that you have a good credit mix. So looking at your, credit factors, what do you have that's on there? So if you're just saying, oh, I don't have anything on my credit report that's positively impacting your score, then you're not going to be able to move and build your score. And then finally, if you notice that you do have some inaccuracies, there's some derogatory information that's on there, anything obsolete that, things that shouldn't even be on there, because we definitely have to be mindful. Identity theft is very, very active. Identity is stolen every 2 seconds. And so we definitely have to be careful of that. And you want to make sure that you are not a victim, because that takes a whole lot of work to come away from and to rebound. So, that could happen on credit reports. You can notice someone opened an account in your name. And so you want to be mindful of that. And then you want to make sure, if you notice any of those things, to definitely reach out and get some help for that. And I definitely can help you walking through seeing what's going to be the best next steps for you to take as far as getting that repaired, because believe me, when a good credit score, and I just know from myself, it's going to make you feel like a huge, weight is lifted. So you'll have a sense of confidence, a sense of freedom, and that's a good feeling that you want to have, being able to leverage your good credit to do what you want to do when you have the need to do it. And so I appreciate your time, Coach Tam.
Yeah, no, I appreciate. Thank you for being here. The audience has shared what's on my heart. It has been a blessing to have you here, both for this audience, and then we'll make sure that our members retain access to this. So this is going to be a blessing to so many people. So thank you for being here. It's not only helped transform the lives of those that are here, but the families that they are connected to. Yes. So thank you so much for being here today. I pray that you have a blessed rest of your day.
Thank you so much for having me. You as well.
All right. Catch you later, Michelle.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right.